That Boy Jack by Janeen Brian. Sometimes Gilbert disappeared. It was the smoke, of course. When a wind fanned the flames in a different direction, he'd be there, gappy-toothed and grinning, as if he'd built the huge Midsummer Eve bonfire by himself. I must have been staring at him because he cried, "What you looking at?" He pulled a face and pranced a bit like a wooden puppet. "An idiot, I reckon, Gilbert Oates. Or should I say a Cornish piskie," I said. "Ah," said Gilbert, "so that'd be Jack Pollock, the nasty little Spriggan talking. Right, well, we know what to do with Spriggans. Arm wrestle." Laughing, we locked hands and pushed and pulled with all our might. "Give up?" said Gilbert. "Yes, but I got him back with a playful punch to his shoulder." It was a cold winter's night in Moonta, South Australia, 1874, and I was with my best friend. Gilbert and I had been mates since we were 6, and both at Miss Goldsworthy's school. I had other mates, but there was no one like Gilbert. It seemed as if everyone had come to the bonfire, whether they were Cornish or not. Gilbert and I didn't know many of the people from Moonta town because we lived a 20-minute walk away at the Moonta mines. The wind that swept across the paddock where they'd set the bonfire was icy like the stars. I was warm enough by the fire, but if I stepped back even a few paces, the cold crept up through my boots and chilled my insides. My mam and da came from Cornwall, England. So back then, when they celebrated Midsummer Eve bonfire, it was the middle of summer. Over here in South Australia, it was winter, and tonight was so cold that my nose dripped. The mumble of voices faded and the singing began. During the song, "Going Up Camborne Hill," I gave a loud sniff. It was such a snort that I got the giggles. When Gilbert mimed the words and pulled more idiotic faces, I couldn't control myself. We both burst out laughing. Dad cuffed me from behind. "Behave." Gilbert and I exchanged glances, and I struggled to sing on without looking at him. "I be watching, Jack," Dad warned in a voice that crackled and rasped in the night air. The cough that followed was harsh and went on for a long time. I knew it hurt Dad, because sometimes he'd put his fist to his chest and lean over. Most of the miners, including Mr. Oates, Gilbert's father, had the cough. It came from the dust of working in the mines. Dad was holding my baby brother, Arthur. Mam had wrapped him up so much you could hardly see his face. But if Dad's coughing set him bawling, you'd hear him right across the paddock. Then that'd be the end. Mam would say we had to go. Luckily, Dad stopped coughing, but Dory yanked my arm. "Lift me up, Jack," she shouted amid the singing. "I can't see properly." "There's nothing to see," I said, trying to put her off. "Anyway, you're too heavy." "I am not. I'm 5, and 5's not heavy." "You're lucky you've only got one sister," said Gilbert as I bent down to let Dory climb onto my back. Try having 4. "No thanks. Jack could have 4 sisters if he wanted, Gilbert," said Dory. "I could not, Dory. That's stupid. It's not me that can have sisters." I stopped because I wasn't exactly sure how mothers did get kids that ended up being brothers and sisters. Gilbert, no. I'd ask him later when we were alone. "And you're lucky you've got only 2 brothers, Dory," Gilbert went on. "Me and my 5 brothers sleep in one big bed, and it's all smelly feet and farts." Dory giggled. "Gilbert's silly, isn't he, Jack?" Gilbert was silly, but he was also bright, funny, and annoying. I didn't want to think what it'd be like if he wasn't around. The song stopped. I shuffled Dory to a different position on my back and told her to loosen her arms. She was strangling me. A girl now stood by the fire. She wore a wreath of flowers on her head and was reciting a poem. It could have been a good poem, but the crackle of the fire drowned her voice. I glanced up at the stars and let my thoughts wander. Reverend Trevelyan snapped me out of my dreaming. The poem had finished, and the preacher stepped up onto a box and began booming away. Mam and Dad stood attentively, taking it all in. Gilbert and I flicked each other's ears and told jokes until the fireworks flashed and burst into life. "This is better," I cried, spellbound by the colors that streaked towards the stars and all the noises that went with them. Zings, whooshes, bangs. The fireworks would probably spook any animals like our goat Gertie, but luckily she was too far away to hear. A great sparkling red ball rose into the sky. Puffed up like a mushroom and then scattered into the darkness. "If only we had money, Gilbert," I said. "Mr. Pascoe's got fireworks in his shop. We could have our own bonfire tonight." We'll get money, Jack. We'll get $1 a day for sorting a ton of ore at the mines. Yeah, but by then we mightn't want to spend it on firecrackers. We won't be that old when we start work, you dope. Suddenly there was a bang that shook the ground and clapped at my eardrums. People shrieked and leaped back from the fire as if they'd been shot. Burning twigs whizzed through the air like tiny firecrackers. I set Dory back on the ground, and Mam pulled her away from the fire. You too, Jack, she said. Gilbert and I stared at each other open-mouthed. There was a general hubbub of excitement as the flames died down and people checked their clothing for burn marks. That was some firecracker, I said to Gilbert. That be no firecracker, muttered Da, his voice hoarse from anger and coughing. That be explosive. Bloody dangerous. Only those from the mines can get their hands on that. Who'd be doing such a thing, came a voice nearby. If Captain Rhoda finds out who took that explosive, that'd be the end, added another miner. The mine captain be fair but strict. If you miss one Sunday church going, you needn't turn up for your wage next week. Aye, agreed someone else in the crowd. You can leave your helmet and candle behind, because there'll be no more work for you at Moonta Mines. A lady's voice rose from the crowd. Then it'd be us wives and children who'd do without because of some husband's foolish lark. A little later, families began to say their farewells, and with lanterns lit, headed for home. It was a great night, hey, Gilbert? I said. Yeah, and we've got tomorrow, too, a day off school to celebrate. Thanks to Miss Goldsworthy. I'll sneak out early so Ma'am doesn't give me more chores. What'll we do? Sometimes Gilbert looked to me to come up with ideas. It always surprised and delighted me when he did. What about building a billy cart, I suggested. We can find everything we need. That'll be part of the fun. When we're finished, we'll hitch up Gertie and go for races with other boys. Like that time we saw Moonta Bay. Gilbert nodded. Sounds good, so we'll need wood and wheels. Yeah, I reckon we should make a 4-wheeled cart first. See how it goes. 4 wheels? They'll be hard to find. Who throws away wheels? I don't know, I grinned in anticipation. Jack, came a call. Coming, ma'am. See you tomorrow, Gilbert. Don't be late.